Hey, hey, hey. Time to finish up this out-of-the-world story from rSpace. Hey everybody, this is part 2 of the story. If you haven't already seen the first episode, it will be linked in the description below for you to watch now. Let's get moving. Weeks go by, and things are kind of back to normal for a while. The only odd thing was Kate was working more often than usual. She would cover for people more or pick up extra shifts randomly more often. Before, she only worked 4 days a week, but now she's working 6 or 7 days. It didn't become suspicious until I noticed that if we had a fight or a night she wasn't scheduled to work, she would immediately start getting ready and tell me she texted her manager and asked if she could come in because she needed to get away from me. We only had one car, and this was before Uber was really everywhere, so I couldn't go check out her work to see if she was really at work. But then one day, my friend was over while Kate was at work, and we were just playing video games and decided we wanted to go out to get some Taco Bell. Neither of us had it in forever. We had the munchies and wanted to find one, so I pulled out my phone to look on Google Maps where the nearest Taco Bell was. That's when I noticed something I had never seen before. Me and Kate shared a Google account on our Androids at the time, so it showed both of our search histories for locations we typed into Google Maps. And on that very day, she searched some random location in a nearby neighborhood when she left for work. My head began to spiral again, and I told my friend I no longer felt up to it and just wanted to go to bed, so he left a bit confused. I double-checked everything on my phone and even went on my computer and did some searches to see if there was any way I was misinterpreting it, and I was not. When Kate came home, I asked her if she really went to work that night. She got real defensive and started accusing me of being paranoid. I then proceeded to show her the Google Maps and how someone searched this location right when she supposedly left for work, and it was not me. She proceeds to tell me the most epic lie I've ever heard. She said, "I never went there or searched it. Google is wrong. It's probably just a glitch." Alright, now I finally admit it to myself. I am dating a liar again. I grab a few things and I get a motel in town. I spend many nights fighting with Kate over the phone and crying while watching crappy cable TV. I was so angry that for the second time in a row I'm dating someone who lies to me and keeps things from me. One of our fights gets so heated we completely stopped talking for 2 days. We didn't break up though, just stopped talking. Something inside me was desperately hoping that maybe she's just doing coke and drugs, not cheating. But I am super suspicious that she is cheating at this point, and I couldn't let go of it. After a couple of nights in the motel, I had convinced myself Kate isn't cheating. She was just back into her drug addiction, and I need to help her get out of it. I know firsthand what drug addiction can do to someone, as it did to me once. I decided to reconcile with her. It was later at night, and I knew she would be back home in a few hours, and I would meet her in the parking lot with some flowers or something. I borrowed a friend's car, went to the shop and bought some flowers and headed home. I park in the parking lot and begin to wait for Kate to get home. Around 2:45 a.m., I see our car drive up to the parking lot, but I see someone in the passenger seat. It was Kate. She wasn't driving. She was sitting in the passenger seat. There was a man I didn't know driving my car. I just laid low and watched. When this random dude that I didn't know parked my car, I wasn't ready for what happened next. Another man also gets out from the back seat. What the F is happening? Who are these people? The three of them walk into our apartment. I pull out my phone and begin to write a text message to Kate. I tried to act like I didn't know anything so that I could see what she would say. Maybe these were just platonic friends and she had nothing to hide. I text her and ask her if she is home yet from work and if I could come over and we could talk things out. I told her I wanted to apologize for yelling and saying some hurtful things during our fights. I didn't get any messages back for about 15 minutes, and then I get a text from her saying, "I just got home, but I want some alone time. I do love you with all my heart. Let's talk tomorrow?" My heart was beating out of my chest as I read the text. I banged my head on the steering wheel in rage while simultaneously crying. I get out of my car and decide to go inside and confront her. When I get to my apartment, the door is locked. I forgot my keys because I only brought the keys to my friend's car. I heard loud music playing on the other side of the door. I tried knocking, but no one answered. I walk around the corner where I knew our living room window and the bedroom windows were. We were on the ground floor level. I peep in through the living room window and I see no one. I was honestly hoping that I would see them there just smoking weed casually or something. But if they weren't in the living room, where the F are they? I walk a little further down until I get to our bedroom window. The blinds were down, but I could see in if I put my eyes on the edge of the window to look real close. When I leaned in to look around the blinds, my heart sank into my stomach. On the other side of the blinds in our bed, my beautiful girlfriend, whose son I consider to be my own, was getting spit roasted by the two guys I saw her walk in with. I leaned up against the wall and slid down until I was sitting on the ground. My face fell into my hands. I sat there for 5 minutes, vaguely hearing what was going on through the window above me. I contemplated going in and killing all 3 of them. I was so filled with rage. I decided to get up and get back into the car. I start chain smoking cigarettes as all of my memories of the relationship that I cherished so much began to dismantle in my mind. Everything was a lie. Everything I thought about Kate that made me love her so much started to dissolve. Now, a lot of you have read my story about when I was cheated on by my college ex-girlfriend, Lisa. When Lisa cheated on me, my rage led me to do everything I can to get the gnarliest revenge I could. In that story, I went completely overboard, and Lisa ended up extremely broken and abused. Now, many years later in my first relationship after Lisa, I'm in the same position, but worse. This time, however, I decide not to get revenge on Kate as I did on Lisa. No, this time, I'm going to kill myself. But first, I'm going to kill Kate. I start the car and drive. I stop by a gas station that I know sells some basic hunting and fishing equipment 24 hours. They don't have any guns, but they have some hunting and skinning knives. I buy the largest knife they have and drive back to my motel, grab my keys to the apartment, and then head home to paint my bedroom walls with their blood. When I get there, I slowly and quietly open the door. I begin to creep down the hallway to our bedroom. I'm gripping the knife tight, expecting one of the guys to maybe pop out. I inch up to my bedroom door. It's open, but the lights in the room are off, and I can't see anything inside. It's quiet. I don't hear anything. Sweat is dripping down my face, and I'm trying to control my shaking and breathing so no one hears me come in. Scared of what I might see, I reach into the bedroom and flip the light switch on. When the lights pop on, I just see Kate lying in the bed, naked and by herself. Was I hallucinating earlier or something, or did those guys just leave before I got back? She didn't wake up, so I take a look around the room. I see a condom wrapper on the nightstand next to her bed, which pretty much confirmed what I saw, and I now knew I wasn't hallucinating. Me and Kate never used condoms. When I take my first step into the bedroom, I hear the door to her son's room across the hall open. I turn around quickly, ready to stab one of the 2 guys I saw earlier. But of course, it's just Kate's son. My son. My first thoughts were, what is Kate's son doing here? Why didn't Kate take him to daycare or to her mom's house before she had 2 random dudes come over to screw her? Was the little kid there the entire time while she was at work? Or while she was getting double-teamed across the hall? What the hell is wrong with her? He looks up at me from his bedroom door. "Daddy, you're back!" And he rushes in to hug my leg. I put my hand on his head and look at the knife in my other hand. I put the knife in my back pocket, and I get on my knee and I tell my stepson, "I'm going away for a while. Just wanted to say bye to you and Mom before I left." He then proceeds to give me the saddest face I have ever seen. I pick him up and take him back to bed, tuck him in and tell him goodbye. I knew it would be the last time I see him, but I didn't want him to know he was about to never see me again. Now, after that, I can't kill his mother. He can't grow up without his mother. He doesn't deserve that, even if I think she deserves to die. However, I still wanted to die. I walk out of the apartment and start walking down the street, just sobbing my eyes out. I sit down at a bus stop bench and pull out the knife, and I begin cutting at my wrists. I was ready to die. For like 10 minutes, I cut at them, trying to get the blood to flow harder. Then a police car pulls up, and 2 cops get out, and one of them says, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I calmly tell him, "I'm done." He radios in more cops, and before I know it, there's like 15 or 20 of them surrounding me. They spend about 20 minutes trying to get me to put the knife down. I'm bleeding all over. The cop walks closer to me and asks me to hand him the knife. I stare at the knife for a few seconds, but he hadn't talked me off the ledge. Nothing at this point could. I also knew I couldn't get out of the situation without being thrown to a psych ward. I raise the knife over my head and lunge at the officer. Before I could even take 2 steps, I'm on the ground getting tasered, and they're piling on top of me, putting handcuffs on me. I made one major miscalculation. I thought if I made a move towards the officer, they would for sure shoot me dead. But I forgot I was white, so unfortunately, I was only tasered. The next thing I know, I'm riding in the back of the cruiser, and they take me to the hospital, where they sedated me and patched me up. They gave me some sedatives that completely knocked me out. The next thing I know, I wake up and I'm in what I later find out is a psych ward for the criminally insane. It's like jail or prison, but worse. You don't know what day or time it is, and you get no communication with the outside world, or at least we didn't at this one. I'm not going to go into detail about what I experienced there. I was in one of the darkest places I had ever seen in my life. I was in there for about 6 weeks before an attorney was able to get me off on a technicality. When I was released, I took a taxi home. It was about 3 hours away. When I get home, I had the taxi driver drop me off at McDonald's near my apartment. I sat down and charged my phone. I didn't want to go back to the apartment. Not after what I saw there. I have texts, calls, voicemails from many people, including Kate. I also obviously was let go from work. My credit cards were all maxed out. Kate clearly had been using them because she had a card for all my accounts. I called Kate and she was ecstatic to hear from me. She had been so worried and had no idea what happened to me. I told her I would explain everything, but I needed her to meet me at the McDonald's and not to bring her son with her. She was confused at first, but agreed she would meet me after she dropped her son off at daycare. Kate later walks into the McDonald's and rushes to try and hug and kiss me, but I brush her off and tell her to sit down. This threw her off a bit, but she sits down and I tell her what happened. Everything I saw before I was thrown into the ward. What she responded with shocked me. Kate had the audacity to try and deny everything. She said I must have looked into the wrong apartment and saw someone else. I shook my head in disbelief, and I cut her off mid-sentence. I told her she needs to tell me the truth right now, and if she tries to lie to me again, I will get up and walk out of this McDonald's, and she and her son will never see me again. I look at her sternly in the eyes, and she could see I meant every word I said. I ask her one more time, "Have you been cheating on me?" She looks down at her lap and begins to cry. She mutters, "Yeah, I have." She proceeds to admit that her drug problem had gone from coke to meth, and she was also doubling down with Xanax every night. That's why the guy was driving our car, because she was too intoxicated to drive. I stare at her for about a minute, and before I let out a big sigh, I pull my phone out of the charger and stand up. She looks up and asks, "Where are you going?" I look her dead in the eyes and say, "I'm going to go do drugs. It's all I can think to do right now." As I pick up my backpack, she asks me if we are still together. I tell her, no. I didn't mean I was going to stay if you told me the truth. I was going to leave either way. I just wanted to hear you admit it before I left. The events afterward. For the next few months, I pretty much lived on the road, basically homeless. I would hop from town to town, mostly selling drugs at strip clubs and crashing where I could. Sometimes I slept in motels, sometimes I slept outside. I was doing a lot of my own product. I lost almost 65 pounds in these few months because sometimes I would go days without eating or sleeping. One day, I wake up in a hospital. I had been having seizures and my internal organs had begun failing. I was severely malnourished. I'm 6'5" and I was weighing in at 155 pounds, soaking wet after a big meal. Multiple doctors and therapists came in to see me every day trying to figure out what was going on with me. I spent about a month in the hospital recovering before I was discharged. The doctors recommended I seek a sobriety program. They concluded that I had no mental disorders other than PTSD and mostly just had a polysubstance addiction problem. When I was discharged from the hospital, I stayed at a halfway house, shelter, for almost 4 months. I found a sober program and began going to meetings and never touched a drug again since I was released from the hospital. I got a new phone and number. Almost no one from my life prior to my stay in the hospital had any contact with me anymore. While I was in the halfway house, I started working out to try and regain some size. I looked like a beanpole. When I was released from the halfway house, I got a job at a nearby gym as a personal trainer. A brand new career path for me, but the gym had become my new safe space where I felt okay. Fast forward 5 years to today, I am still sober to this day. I'm weighing in at a healthy and lean 265 pounds. I am happily married for 2 years. I run my own lucrative business. The day I left the hospital, I thought long and hard about what I was going to do with my life. My instinct was to retreat into darkness. I still wanted to get back at Kate for what she did, just like I did with Lisa in college. After a few long periods of thought over the course of a few weeks, I decided the best revenge would be to live the best life I could. And most importantly, I decided to stop feeling sorry for myself for the things I went through. This changed the game for me. I stopped blaming others or the world for the things that happened to me. Looking back to this day 5 years later and where my life has led me, I am so happy I made the decision to try a different course of action. I don't even recognize myself anymore. When I wrote these stories about Lisa and Kate, I don't even see me. I see some other messed up kid. I turned 30 this weekend. I got sober a month before my birthday 5 years ago. If you would have told me back then that I would be where I am now, I would never believe you. I am so happy I didn't take my own life, or even worse, take Kate's life that day. I am so glad I decided to get up and keep trying at life. I had to fall a few times, but when I finally got up, I flew. I spoke with Kate only once, years after I left the McDonald's the day she admitted to cheating on me. And after speaking with her, I gotta say, it's true what they say. The best revenge is living a good life.